Hey everybody, this is Ross Johnson, your favorite co-host on WAYO on the Sound of Tomorrow show on WAYO 104. This is going to be a day. It's going to be a rough day, everybody. Just buckle up. We start that over. I'm not going to end this recording. I'm just going to keep going. I'm
No.
Ross Johnson, your favorite co-host on the Sound of Tomorrow show on WAYO 104.3 FM Rochester. Coming up, we've got Sarah. Heather's got... Who's Sarah? Heather's got a book or something she wants to talk about.
Oh.
I've got some gay stuff, good and bad gay stuff that's going on. That's what's coming up next. As you could probably guess, it's going to be a real tight sort of episode. So, jam packed. Stick around if you dare. But first.
Oh, Ross, I'm sorry I'm so late.
Oh, that's okay. I just finished up some writing while I waited. Is everything okay?
Yeah, it's just there's some stuff going on with work.
Oh, no. Is it bad?
Oh, no, not like that. Oh, work is actually fine. It's just office politics.
Did someone say something in a meeting? I want all the details.
Oh, yeah. When I say office, I mean in my literal office.
Oh, I see.
So, remember I told you about my coworker?
The older white guy?
Yeah, him. So, he's been at it again. Just like completely inappropriate stuff.
Does he still... Okay, tell me this. Does he still come running out of the bathroom full tilt after he poops?
Yes! And when I go to the bathroom, he tries to come in with me.
What is up with this guy?
I know. And he stares at me while I eat. No matter what I'm having, just stares. Sometimes I offer him some, and then, get this, he gives me this withering sneer and walks right away. It's so annoying. The other day, too, I was just finishing up for the day, and what does he do after sleeping in his cube while I did all the heavy lifting? He takes off and just starts shredding the office fern.
Okay, you really ought to report him to HR, Heather. I can't believe you didn't after all the times he climbed on your desk and started yelling during meetings.
You're right, but you know how it goes. Those things are just so hard to navigate. And I can usually just put up with it. But today, I think he tried to kill me on the stairs.
What?
Well, to get more tea when I'm at the office, I have to go down some stairs to get to the break room. And he and I do usually take our breaks together since there's so few of us in the workspace. But today, I got up for tea, and suddenly, there he was, weaving around on the stairs, acting for all the world like he was trying to trip me right up.
Which he was. Because that's what cats do, Heather. You've said a million times how your cat Nigel's favorite game is kill mother on the stairs. Sorry, I'll say it like Nigel. Kill mother on the stairs. I assume he's British. You're doing that thing you think is so funny where you work. That wasn't a very good British accent. Where you work from home with your cat and you pretend he's your human coworker.
Okay, you got me. But it's funny to think of a human coworker doing cat things.
Oh, sweetie, did you have a rough weekend? Just out of ideas. Really, we're just gonna do the cat thing again.
Yeah, thanks for humoring me.
Yeah, I just barely did, but you're welcome.
Hey. It's not great.
Hey everybody, I'm Ross Johnson, your favorite co-host.
And I'm Heather Zykowski, the babe with the power. Welcome back to the Sound of Tomorrow on WAYO LP Rochester, where you just missed Nigel and me having an actual conversation that Ross got to overhear.
It's true, Nigel was really loud.
He was. He's got a very good voice. He's got a great voice for radio.
He does. He should talk more.
He should.
It's interesting because I don't know. I'm excited about today's show. I really am, because I don't know what it's going to happen, because I've got some stuff and then I didn't write down any of the things you told me that we're talking about. So it's just going to be as much of a surprise to me as it is to any of the guests.
I think it always is for us. What I'm excited about is this phone call that I apparently received while we were doing the skit from a number that I don't know. And they left me a message.
It's probably about how you should shut up.
You're right. It probably is. They know that I'm talking, and they're trying to nip that in the bud. They're like, just cut her off right now.
I think they figured out now that we're pre-recording because of COVID, if they call Wednesday during the show, it's too late. So I think they finally figured out. You've got
Yep.
to hit us when we're recording.
Yeah, they've got to hit
That's
me on
very
my own
smart.
phone. Yeah, it's really
Yeah.
good. Yeah, they've just been calling on Wednesdays and we're playing away in the studio and the phone is just ringing
Right.
and ringing trying to stop us, but it's too late. You
Nothing's
know
going to
what though?
stop
It's
us.
too late now.
Yep.
You know what else I'm
It is.
excited about?
What are you excited about?
So I bought myself a little present the other day, and it was an impulse buy. It is a book entitled The Woman Beyond the Attic, the V.C. Andrews story.
Oh, okay. I can't. Your screen. You're holding up the book, which is very nice of you. Your camera's a little blurry right now. Oh, it just came into focus. Okay, and I was like, that sounds like a VC Andrews story,
Yes,
but it's not. It's the
absolutely.
VC Andrews story.
Yeah, and it's by Andrew Neiderman, who was apparently, from what I understand, her ghostwriter for actually most of her books.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I knew a lot of them were ghostwritten. And this was
Okay.
one of these, this book just came out. And it was one of those things where I was just leaning in the kitchen, scrolling through social media on my phone, as one does.
Yeah.
Bad habit. But I saw an article about it and I was like, oh, wow, new V.C. Andrews biography. Yeah. And so I went over and I read the article about it. Like, I didn't know that Flowers in the Attic was kind of based on her life.
No, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, she was in a wheelchair and her mom was her caregiver. And like her mom was apparently really strict and bad, and like if VC Andrews was naughty as a grown adult woman, she would be
Mhm.
locked in her room and denied meals.
Wow.
Yes.
Did she kiss on her brother and stuff?
They did bring that up about the
Okay.
the kids in Flowers in the Attic. I did not read about any siblings. And again, this was just an article about the book.
Okay. Sure.
So
So you're not
I
there yet.
haven't even started the book yet because I'm still trying to finish the other book that I'm reading. But this came the other day and I'm super excited about it. I just think it's going to be neat.
It sounds it sounds possibly tragic, but it sounds very juicy.
Yes.
Were you a VC Andrews girl?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. I am of the generation, and it might be there are quite a few generations like this,
Mhm.
where somewhere late elementary school, junior high-ish, somebody gets a hold of a copy of Flowers in the Attic.
Okay.
And then everybody is reading these books. And I'll say they're quite racy from what I remember, especially when you're talking about someone who's in like sixth grade reading them.
Well, I've not read any VC Andrews books, and
None?
not that I wouldn't. I think they were like, at the time, it was very like those are girls' books,
Mm-hmm.
and those were like, and they were also like older girls' books, unless your parents don't monitor your reading very closely, that sort of thing. So it was just, but I did see the movie Flowers in the Attic,
Oh my. Oh no,
and
and I've never seen that.
that was certainly rather scandalous in and of itself.
Yes.
So I don't imagine that the book is much less so.
Right. And I went through that space some years ago now when I still worked in the office building where we had the take a
Mhm.
book, leave a book shelves. And so I was reading a lot of romance novels and I read every V.C. Andrews that showed up on the take a book,
Okay,
leave a book shelf. I would
sure.
just read them while I microwaved my lunch. And it was great. I loved them. I kind of do have the urge to go back and read a bunch of V.C. Andrews because I remember a lot of disparate like themes and things that were going on. I definitely remember there's some kid who got some terrible blood disease because he was playing with poop.
Okay, that sounds like my impression of what a VC Andrews book would be, honestly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and there was a lot of like really objectively not great stuff that went on.
it always sounded like a very, I don't know if it was the marketing or what, but it always seemed very like they looked sort of, if you didn't look too closely, they just looked sort of like romance novels.
Right.
So I feel like And for me, I mean, my family didn't monitor my reading even a tiny little bit, so it didn't really. I could have read whatever I wanted. I sort of should have taken advantage more, although now I can. So I don't know why I'm.
Right.
It's not like the opportunity has passed.
No, you
I
could
can no longer- I
easily
still
get a
could.
copy of Flowers in the Attic.
I still could, but you
Yeah.
know, I think like even if your parents did sort of monitor your reading, they wouldn't. They'd have to look sort of closely because otherwise it just looked like a
Mhm.
romance novel. And there was, yeah, it did. My impression was from the people who did read them and from that one movie that I saw,
Yeah.
they are certainly, you don't have a lot of like locked in the house incest romance story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's unusual. Did parents just not monitor our reading at that age? Because now it seems like parents are up in arms about any single thing that anyone has, any word that anyone has ever
You're
seen on a
right.
page.
You're
But
right.
I heard
Except
that there's a
I think VC
parents are
Andrews is allowed in schools.
parents are there are parents somewhere that are objecting to like a Michelle Obama biography because it says something like, and she didn't like Donald Trump or whatever. It was something like.
Oh
I
my
mean, it was
gosh.
whatever it was very tame, but it was like, we want that because we will not have President Trump disrespected.
Oh my
And also we
gosh.
get the biography of a black lady out of the library. But so in 2022, it seems like you can't,
Well, VC
you can't
Andrews, I'm looking here. She is a white woman on the cover, and I just checked the author write-up, and he looks like a white dude. So I think
Okay.
this book is probably going to be okay in the libraries.
Probably fine.
Yeah, because it's just about the woman who wrote. Well, and the guy, I mean, he was the one who took over for, I think, most of the books, actually. So he was the one who was writing all of the weird incest stuff in the book.
Interesting. And I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that VC Andrews books have been challenged, but it does just thinking about it and us talking about the book bannings and all this stuff, like, and I'm 100% not supportive of taking VC Andrews books out of libraries either. So that's not what I'm
Right.
saying with this, but you don't see stuff like that where, like, if I had a small child, I would probably think twice about like buying that small child Flowers in the Attic. You know what I mean?
would too. Yeah, and since I have read it,
Mhm.
if I were a parent and I saw, for example, my 10 or 11-year-old kid with that book, I think I would definitely be like, honey, let's wait a couple years.
Yeah. Or let's talk about it. At least.
Something would go off in my head about like,
Mhm.
well, that book might require something additional to go with it. Either waiting a couple years, having a discussion.
It just sort of makes clear what book banning is really about.
Yes.
It makes the subtext very clear when you don't see stuff like that. Which, again, I'm not supporting banning VC Andrews. That's not what I'm saying at all. But you don't see stuff like that where it's like actual sort of like, okay, this is definitely like parental guidance type of material where
Right.
like maybe a young child should not be reading this unsupervised, ideally. But you do see like, the biography of Audra McDonald and anything with a black or, the comic book with the naked mice. So it's
Right.
it's interesting.
It really
interesting
is.
is all.
Because thinking back to books that actually traumatized me when I was a kid, Flowers in the
Mhm.
Attic did not. I'm sure it did something to my brain, but
Right.
I don't
That
remember
movie
being
stuck with me, so that movie
Yeah.
kind of messed me up a little bit. So
It was something. But
Mhm.
I remember books like Where the Red Fern Grows. That really messed me up.
Yeah.
Like badly. And then I somehow didn't read it until I was an adult. But for some reason I was like, oh, I've never read Lord of the Flies. I should definitely read that. Oh, even as an adult, that book messed me up.
Yeah.
I did
I
not.
I don't know if I have read Lord of the Flies. I have sort of a weird, because we moved a bunch of times to different states, and then I was in sort of the stupid, the gifted and talented reading things. The ones that just set you up for thinking that you're so great, and then life is life.
Yeah, they make you think you're super duper smart, but you can really just read pretty well.
Right.
I had that same thing.
So I find that
I'm not that smart.
Yeah. I find that I didn't always read the things that everybody else read in class because we had like different books and or I moved between states. So like states with different roles. So there were things that like everybody read, like Lord of the Flies, that I'm pretty sure I didn't read.
I think you would remember if you'd read it because
Okay.
I and I have no excuse. I've stayed in the same school system for my entire education. I didn't read it. And if it had been required reading, you know for a fact I would have read it because I'm
Yeah.
like that.
Sure.
So I don't know if maybe it was I was in some other program, so I also didn't read it, or if it wasn't in the curriculum or what.
Yeah.
But I just knew, like, oh, people talk about this. It's got references people use just in real life. I don't want to watch the movie, so I will read this book. Ugh. It
Oh,
was disturbing.
oh.
Yeah.
I guess it's good to be disturbed once in a while.
I don't know. I'm going to be disturbed by my gigantic set of VC Andrews books I'm going to order up for myself. Relive my
Oh,
junior
that's because
high.
you've borrowed them. You don't have them.
I don't own them, correct?
Yeah.
And if I ever did own them, I don't think I did. But going back to like parents not monitoring our reading, I do remember clearly my parents getting VC Andrews and Anne Rice books for me from the library
Okay.
just to bring home. Like, hey, we saw that this was in stock. Not sure you'd read it yet, but we were there. So we got it out for you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you don't read them, you don't know. I mean,
Right.
I did read a lot of Anne Rice books,
And
which
those trended
is
a little bit racy.
I would say so. I don't know if they were quite if it seems like a different kind of thing than VC Andrews, but
It was a different cut. Yeah, VC Andrews is definitely unusual in that you can think of like the broad genres and broad categories her work would fit into or her ghostwriter's work. But then when you look at it, I've read a fair number of romance novels. No, it does not quite align with those.
interesting.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna this year, 2022, it's my deep dive back into VC Andrews,
I'm
which
excited. I
means
was
I'm gonna be writing some even scarier romance novel stuff.
oh, there you go. I look forward to it. Yeah, I've been meaning to cuz I have a ton of my old Anne Rice books, but some of them I had gotten from the library. So like I tend to have like the later ones and I was sort of like, "Oh, I'd like to
Yeah.
even before she died,
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking like, "Oh, I'd kind of like to at least reread the first couple of vampire books or whatever just for the heck of it." And I
Interview with a
don't
Vampire.
have them. I mean, they're $8. It's not like I can't get them,
I
it's not like they're
know.
hard to come by. I have not, but I had that sort of deep dive back in my head, but there were so by the end there were so many of
Yeah.
them. I would have to pick a place to stop, or maybe I wouldn't. Maybe I'd be just having a grand old time and I'd go through. So I've got sort of a middle range of Anne Rice books of like
Right.
not the first ones because those I got from the library, and then I
Mhm.
started buying them, and then at some point I stopped because
Yeah, I don't think I own any, and that seems strange to me. I must have had at least a couple along the way,
Mhm.
but most of mine I got from the library too, and that was another one where there were so many Anne Rice books. That was one that my folks would still keep getting them for me from the library, but I'd kind of lost interest by that point. I was like,
Mhm.
"This I've had my fill," and I remember, like, very nicely thanking my parents so much, but saying like I wasn't really reading Anne Rice and thank you, thank you, thank you for having gotten these for me, but don't feel like you have to look around anymore for Anne Rice.
That's really sweet of them.
It was very sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I were like them in that they love to go to the library.
Yeah.
I am so bad. I'll just like with this VC Andrews book. Not for 1 second did I think like, "Oh, I'm gonna go and put myself on the waiting list and pick that up at my local library because I'll probably only wanna read it once." Oh, no,
Yeah.
I just bought it.
Yeah, I was big on the library in high school, and now, yeah, I'm the same way. I just buy them, and it's I mean, I guess it's good for the authors maybe that I do that, but it's not really good for anybody else because it's just piles of books taking up room in my house,
Right.
and it's spending more money that I don't need to spend when they're there. So it is, the moral of this is go to the library. Don't be like us. It's bad. But yeah, I'm the same way. And then
Mhm.
whenever I think about going to the library, I'm always like, I have so many books. I should just read a book I have. So there'll be a disconnect because I'll be like, well, why would I go to the library? I have books that I have bought that I haven't even read yet. Why would I go to the
Uh-huh.
library and get some books? Oh, there's a new book. I want to buy that. I'm going to buy that book. So it's
I
like there's a
know.
disconnect that the two thoughts don't really work together, but my brain makes them work together. Like, you have books to read. You don't need to go to the library. Oh, and also you should buy that new book you want to read. I
Yeah,
mean, it doesn't, but
I
somehow
know.
this is how my brain tells me I should just buy the book.
Yep. Yeah, and my brain always, I think there's even the go to the library. Where's my library card? Is it still good? Does it still work? Which library do I go to? Ew,
I
I
know.
have to drive a car? Like,
I know.
there's a lot of layers to it.
I'm super supportive of libraries in
Me
general, and
too. I love them.
I don't even have a library card right now, which is very sad. And our town just got a nice new library, but I don't even have a library card
Wow.
right now.
I mean,
It's very sad.
that's a surprising failing for us here on The Sound of Tomorrow.
It is. It really is. But I mean, for me, it's like I said, I mean, part of it is that one thing of like, there are more books in my house. Like, if they stopped making books and or walled up my house, I would
Yeah.
still have stuff to read for the rest of my life.
Yes, absolutely. I might have to start rereading things, but
I
I'm
might have to start rereading things at some point down the line.
right. I'm thinking in years, like
Right,
years and
right.
years, I might have to start rereading. But I'm once again in that position where I have a tower of unread books just
Mm-hmm.
stacked on my nightstand. And if Nigel decides to like take a good crack at those and they fall on me, I'm going to get hurt in my sleep.
Sure. And he's thinking about
Oh, of course he is.
it.
Why wouldn't he be?
um, I guess Anne Rice and VC Andrews sort of tie into this. You want to talk about some gay stuff?
Oh, I do.
I've got some good and some bad gay stuff. All right. And this was so part of the thing I'm going to so first thing I want to talk about Star Trek, Heather.
Talk
Can I
about
talk
Star
to you
Trek.
can I talk to you
Yes,
about
I want
Star
to hear
Trek?
about it.
So, I think I've mentioned this before. So, I've always been into Star Trek, right? But Star Trek has not always been into me. You know,
Hmm.
for so long, for all of the, for everything with Star Trek, and they talking about diversity and blah blah blah, and it's good, blah blah blah, and the future, and everybody's, there were never any gay people whatsoever, any queer people of any kind, anywhere, no matter how hard you looked, you couldn't find them. You could look all you want, and to the point that, and it was just TV. It was just the way,
Hmm.
TV was. It was the same thing. It was like any shows on TV. It was like, and any conversation was like, and it wasn't even like, oh no, there's some gay people around behind the corner, because every conversation anybody'd have would be like super heteronormative, like,
Right.
oh, when a man loves a woman, this is what we do,
Hmm.
and they'd
Hmm.
meet the strange aliens with 8 heads, and they'd be like, well, they're the man aliens, and they're the lady aliens, and they're gonna
Yeah.
get together and have babies, so it was always, there was never any even slight,
Yeah, not a bit.
which is annoying. It's
Yeah.
annoying if you like a thing that's been on for a long time. But with so I what brought this up was there's a new Out magazine cover, and what I love about this, and it's one of the things that people complain about the show with Star Trek Discovery, which is no longer the newest Star Trek show, but it's the sort of the flagship show of the new Star Trek shows. Um, somebody was like, somebody was complaining about the lack of diversity because there were no straight white men. Um, and I was like, well, that can't be true. And then I really had to think about it for a while before I could come to like a straight white man in the cast. And I was like, oh, there is one, but he's like an alien. So I don't know how much it even counts. And I was really like, and I was laughing that someone was like really upset about that. And then
I
I was
know.
also
That's
laughing when
amazing.
and I was also laughing when I was also sort of, I hadn't even quite, thought about it in those terms. But when I thought about it, I was like, he's kind of right though. This is like, so not just a Star Trek show, but like a show in general, to have one straight white male in the cast,
Yeah.
in like a large cast, like an ensemble cast. It's not like three people in the cast, that was really fascinating to me, and I love it. So there's a new what brought this on was there's a new actually I have my Star Trek Discovery mug here, and it doesn't even have the
Oh,
whole it
does it
doesn't even
have the
have the
straight
whole
white guy on it?
it does have the straight white guy, but it has
Oh,
so it's got four it's got 8 people on it. It took me a
that's
really
a lot
long
of
time to
people on
count
a
to 8.
mug.
I apologize.
Hey, it's winter in Rochester. Don't expect anything.
Yeah, so and it does have the straight white guy, who's an alien, so, I mean, he's the actor is a straight white guy, but I don't
Yeah.
know,
So I'm
like, how
not sure
much
that
that
counts
counts
in
when
the
it's an alien.
show.
Right. But there's a new Out magazine cover where they had, where they've got, a bunch of people, Anthony Rapp, Emily Coots, Mary Wiseman, Tig Notaro, who we love anyway, Wilson Cruz, Blue Del
Yes.
Barrio, Ian Alexander, all these people. So, I mean, I love it. And I don't love that people hate it, but the fact that people get really mad about that aspect of it is
That's
really, I, I really can't think of, I mean, to go from a show or like a franchise, I don't like the word franchise, but to go from a franchise with 0 queer
mhm.
representation to, I can't really think of too many other shows aside from like maybe, um, uh, what's the ballroom show?
Pose?
Yeah, maybe like Pose or something like that. But I can't think of too many other shows where there's such a variety. I mean, there's a trans man, there's a non-binary person. I was said I almost said non-binary woman, which doesn't make sense. Um, but I'm looking at all the women in the cast, in
Mhm.
addition to like people of color and a gay. So it's just it's a nice thing, is all I'm saying.
It sounds really nice. Yeah, it
And I
sounds
just
really great. I feel like some of our CW shows are a little bit like that, with a lot
yeah
more not white people, not straight people, just like a whole group of folks who aren't all the same as each other.
yeah I think you're right, and I think they're the CW stuff it has its own, it's its own vibe, which is for better or for worse.
Mhm.
They're definitely soap operas. Whatever,
Oh,
whether they're the
yeah.
superhero things or the vampire things or whatever, they're definitely soap operas. But the um there is, I think, more diversity in a lot of those shows. I wish I wish for the CW shows especially, there's a little bit more of this in Star Trek, but for the CW shows especially, I wish there'd be a little more body type diversity,
Yes,
because
that would be really nice.
you see a lot of very typically, traditionally,
Mhm.
what you would expect to see on a CW show's version of what an attractive person looks like.
Yeah,
So I would like to see more of that, and in
that
Star
would be
Trek as well.
great.
Although Discovery has a little bit more of that, I think, than the CW shows. So it's nice to see some of this stuff in general. It's nice to see it in. It's also been nice over the last few years to not have to be like, oh my god, I really like Star Trek, except for this part, and I wish they would fix that
Uh-huh.
someday. And for them to go full bore and to have people be, like I said, to have people be mad about it, and all the responses from people and or Star Trek are like, well, watch something else.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's the appropriate response. You don't like it? Well, there's a lot of shows out there.
The other nice thing that's going on in Gayland,
More
in
nice
queer
news, I like
in
it.
Queerland, before we get to a couple yucky things, have we talked about Amy Schneider?
I if we have, I don't remember. Let's
Sure.
put it that
Amy,
way.
Amy Schneider was, you know how at some point when I got really old, we started watching Jeopardy.
Okay, is this the Jeopardy winner who had, like, a really long streak?
Yes, and she wound up, she lost her 41st game.
Wow, that's a really long streak.
That is a really long streak. It's the second longest win streak in the show's history. By any measure, she's like, I think by any way you can track the statistics, she's the as a woman, she's like far ahead of anything of like any other woman who's ever been on the show. Um so it's the second longest streak in the show's history. She came out with $1.3 million. I'm not sure where that places her,
Ooh.
but then across any American game show ever, she's the 11th highest earning contestant of
Oh
all
my
time.
gosh.
So I don't know. I think she was cool. I was on a little, what I was sad for her. I was sad for her. The thing I was sad for her about was when she lost that 41st show. I had a little competition with her going for the final Jeopardy.
Oh.
It's sort of hard with because we don't do, I mean, I think people have things where you can like play on your phone and click in your answers and whatever, but I don't want, that's like way too complicated during the show. So I can't keep track of like, on any given show, I can't really keep track of how well I've done against whoever.
Okay.
Plus, you don't know like would I have really been able to chime in. I mean, it's just apples and oranges,
Mhm.
They're sometimes I watch it and like, oh, I got a lot of answers on this one. But that's as far as I can go. But with Final Jeopardy, I was competing with Amy every day. And and what I feel bad about is that I was doing very well against her. And I think I got even a little head at the end.
Ooh.
And now she'll never have a chance to catch up to me. So I feel like for all of her accomplishments, she's going to have this one glaring, this asterisk really.
That's a
in her
shame.
record.
That's a shame
It
because
is too
you
bad.
are the real winner.
It's true. Ultimately, I mean,
Yeah, you are.
I mean, she's got $1.3 million, but I get to shout at the TV. I'm smarter than Amy. So, which is the bigger prize?
Oh, I love to shout at the TV. It's one
Yeah.
of the few joys I have in my life.
I love it. Amy Schneider also, by the way, if you're, you have to be a little, I guess you'd have to be a little interested in Jeopardy. She's got a really fun Twitter feed, which I didn't follow for the longest time because we would always be a day behind. We'd sort of DVR and watch the one from the day before. So I realized like following her on Twitter, she'd like comment on what was going on in the show. And then it was sort of spoilers for Jeopardy, which you don't need that.
Oh,
you don't want to know that.
No spoilers.
Especially when there's like a long running person that you're like, oh, is this going to be, this could be the one where they lose, or is it going to, you don't want to know that ahead of time. So, but she's got a really fun, it's like, it's catty, but in a nice way. I mean, it's not like, she's not a nasty person, but she's got funny, she's got funny comments on things, and she's got a real style and sense of humor. And she's very frank about stuff. She's just like, well, I was going to comment on this episode, but then, I had an edible before the thing. So now I just fell asleep, but that kind of thing. So she's got a very, I don't know what my image of a Jeopardy champion's Twitter feed would be like, but it's cuter than that. It's much cuter than that. So
that's nice.
Yeah. So
can I tell you some good gay TV news?
Sure.
Oh my gosh. So
is this about Vampire Diaries?
No.
Okay. It's usually about Vampire Diaries.
No, thank goodness. I'm done with Vampire Diaries.
Okay.
And Legacies is on pause. So I don't have to worry about talk about screaming at the TV. I swear, that entire franchise got me so like sensitive to the phrase that someone's turned off their humanity. Every time they say it, I just want to scream. So hopefully somebody out there is screaming with me. No, Roz. So episode 1 of RuPaul's Drag Race UK versus the World dropped last week.
Oh yeah?
Oh my God, it's so good. It is so good. And I know I have mentioned, like, I think my favorite drag queen anywhere, like if I had to say who my very favorite drag queen ever is, it's Pangina Heals from Thailand.
Okay.
And she's in the show. So now I get to see her compete instead of just judge.
So maybe this is obvious, but what's the premise of RuPaul? Is it RuPaul's Drag Race UK versus the world?
Yeah. So it's based in the UK.
Okay.
Like that's where they're filming it. And there's 3 UK queens, 1 Holland queen, 2 Canada queens, 2 US queens, and then Pangina from Thailand.
Okay.
And so I guess it's UK versus the world because there's like 1 more UK girl.
Okay.
Yeah, when I heard it was pitched, I thought it was just going to be like Drag Race International.
Right.
So when it came out as UK versus the world, I was like, huh? Why? I don't understand this branding. So if it sounds like I don't understand the branding, that's why. But Ross, can I tell you a spoiler? Are you ever going to watch this?
I won't remember if I do, so it won't be anytime soon.
The two queens, I'm big fans of like everybody on this cast, but Jimbo from Canada and Pangina from Thailand, they're like, I'm really rooting for them, Pangina especially. They were the winners and they got to lip sync against each other, and then Pangina won, and it was very, 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 very exciting. She did so well. She's like such a good dancer. She's so funny. I'm really
Wow.
I'm thrilled. I can't wait to watch episode 2.
I'm good for I'm glad. I
I'm
don't know
such
that
a
I'll see that anytime
fan.
soon, but I'm glad
You
for you. And
could.
that's that's on the World of Wonder
Yes.
app situation, right?
Yes, indeed.
Wow.
I
Well,
know.
I
Wow is what we call it for short.
oh, look at me.
World of Wonder. Yeah, it's so good. And I'm pleased as punch. I feel like probably someone from UK is going to win it, even though I don't think anybody should. I think Pangina should just like, she can do everything. Like, I feel like they should just give her the crown right now.
Wow.
I
Well,
know.
the 15 people who have that app are very
It's the
are
15
anxiously awaiting.
people. 15 people bought the app. Then they
Ah,
just gave their login
yeah.
to all their friends.
So it's deceptive. Those
Right.
subscriber numbers are deceptive, is what you're
Yes,
saying. Okay,
exactly.
fair enough.
But don't come after me. Wow, I actually freaking bought it.
I had the DC Universe app for a while, which was like all of the like Superman and Batman cartoons and stuff,
All right.
and it was very much the same situation of
Yeah,
like, what's that? I'd be like,
I
there's a show on
know.
there,
But
but
it's not even that much per year. And it's so worth it. Because then I get to
no,
watch my
they're cheap.
international seasons.
It gets. I mean, the problem I run into is that they mostly are pretty cheap, and I'll subscribe to something for one show, or oh, there are a couple things I want to watch on this one. Oh, I'll subscribe to it, and then I will go to my grave, with a $4 a month
Yes.
subscription to whatever, because it'll and that is coming from a place of there have certainly been times in my life, and there may well be again, when that $4
Yeah.
would be a huge big deal. That
Hmm,
is,
hmm, hmm.
it is something now that kind of I can get billed that in a month, and not, the trouble of going to cancel that is more than the
Yeah.
$4. But I think that's a lot of people. I mean, so I don't beat myself too much, because I think that's a lot of people, and
I think so.
I think that's kind of
Yeah.
that's how they get you.
Yep. That's part of the reason I haven't signed up for a lot of stuff, because people will be like, oh, just get the free trial and then binge what you want to see. Well, I know me. I'm never going to remember to go and cancel before they start charging me.
Yeah.
And it would have to be something pretty important for me to want to jump through all those hoops and set myself calendar reminders and things.
Yeah. I mean, we've got stuff where we were trying to go through the other day, like, and between the two of us, because there are things we've both signed up to, and then there was one that I was like, wait, are we both subscribed to this? um but yeah, there are streaming services that it's like, oh, have we ever used this? Have we ever even watched, like, I think we realized we got Stars because we were going to watch Outlander like 3 years ago. And we've
Oh,
never watched an episode
wow.
of Outlander. Like, it's just so we've watched a couple other things on Stars, but we never, like, yeah, so it's exactly that, what you've described. We just and we'll just die. I'll just die. I'll be 104 years old,
Yeah,
and I will die, and the last bill for Stars will come in.
right.
It's just, yeah, it's a rough world. I've been trying to be better, actually, with my credit cards, of going through and looking at the actual, like, going through, because I'm not, I will confess to being, unless there's a major, unless I get a major bill on my credit card that's like way outside of what I'm expecting, I don't always do a great job of going through with a fine tooth comb to make sure all the little charges are what they should be. So I have been trying to be better about that.
Yeah.
And then that makes you go, oh wait, even when they're legit, that makes you go like, oh wait, am I?
Yeah. Yep.
Are we really like? Do we really need that?
I
And they're
always go
really
through
easy.
mine.
They're really easy to cancel for the most part. I mean, they're really easy to cancel. I- but you're right. For some reason, there's a psychological block there to wanting to do it. I don't know. So
Yeah, see, that surprises me too. Again, here on this Sandwich Tomorrow show, you would think that we review our credit card statements
yeah.
very closely. I do. I don't know why. I just tend to keep a bit of an eye on mine.
No, it's good too because you do. You catch either weird recurring charges that you're like, oh, why am I,
Hmm.
why am I subscribed to this? Or you get, you occasionally do find. I haven't gotten this in a while. I think credit cards, or maybe my credit cards have just gotten better at finding. I used to back in the day. I used to find every so often you'd just be like, oh, an $18 charge from something not legit at all. And you'd be like, oh, okay, I'm glad I caught that.
Wow.
I don't really
Yeah,
get I don't really get that anymore.
Yeah. I've never noticed one of those. I've definitely had the like, wait a minute. What is this? And then I have to try to figure out what I bought.
Yeah.
But generally that's just because I'm forgetful.
Well, and that's the other thing. It'll be like, oh, $22 to Blagel floor, all in caps. And you're like, I don't know what
Yeah, what did I
that
do then?
is and what is it? Because the name
Yeah.
is not helping me. And, 99 times out of 100, it's fine. It's just something I forgot about. But
Yep. For me, it's knock wood. It's always been something that I've forgotten about. Like I might have even forgotten that I was at that restaurant that weekend.
right.
Like, oh, that was what that place was called.
Ew.
Yeah,
Um, okay, so I hesitate.
I know.
You want
Because
to
we
hear
were having so much fun talking about good gay news, but now we've
you want to hear
got
some yucko gay news?
bad news for.
Well, here's the thing. I'll put it this way. So I think the only reason to talk about bad stuff is not just to complain, but to raise awareness and, maybe we can do something about this. I don't live in Florida, so I don't know what I'm going to do about this next one. But so Florida has advanced 2 bills. The governor has signaled support for these. And I forget the official name I have somewhere here, and I can't find it right now, but who cares? See, they're calling it the new "Don't Say Gay" bill because it's so.
Oh
This
no,
is
I heard about this.
yeah. So, 2 bills. They're moving ahead in the legislature. Quote. States that a school district, quote, may not encourage classroom discussion about sexual orientation or gender identity in primary grade levels or in a manner that is not age appropriate or developmentally appropriate for students. Very vague wording.
Yes.
And it's also sort of a mercenary, like if your parents find out that gay stuff has come up in your classroom, even if like your kid brings it up, like if you're a kid and go to a teacher and say like, oh, I think I'm gay or I think I need some resources, the parents can sue you and the school. So, and they can get damages, attorney fees, and court costs, which is always funny when they do when legislatures pass stuff like this. Like, okay, so if if a teacher does something bad, bad in their definition of bad, if a teacher does something a parent doesn't like, the state taxpayers
Yeah.
will give them free money. So, this is, and I don't even know if we need to go into why this is stupid. I grew up in an era when it was just sort of de facto that you didn't talk about this stuff.
Yes.
And I will tell you, it sucked.
Yeah.
It sucked a lot. And there's really, and in terms of the, this is where I would get sort of huffy. People aren't talking about this anymore because I think we've seen a lot of stuff over the past couple of years. But remember a few years ago when there was all the discussion about like, oh, well, gay stuff is over now. Gay people need to move on to helping other people because gay stuff is over and gays are fine and everything's fine for gay people.
Yes, I do remember that.
And it was sort of a, yeah, I mean, yes, gay people, yes, we need to be intersectional and we all need to help other people, and also recognize that gay people fall into pretty much every category
Mhm.
except for straightness, I guess.
Yeah.
But um, that was such a pet peeve of mine at the time, because we're seeing a lot of conversation along those lines, like, okay, gay people need to shut up and stop complaining and get down off the pride float and blah blah blah, because everything's fine now.
Mhm.
And it clearly was not, and it's still
Yes.
not. So I mean, and this is a terrible triggering statistic I'm going to read, but according to a recent report from the Trevor Project, um, LGBTQ plus, oh, I just lost my place. Hold on. Sorry. Oh, I just lost that. There's a, hold on. Let me find the actual statistic before I start making stuff up.
You can make stuff up.
I can,
I'll believe you.
I don't want to make this stuff up. I completely lost my page. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm just going to kind of vamp here and we'll sing a little song. I
Ooh,
can't,
I'm ready for the song.
I have completely, nope, it's completely gone. So I apologize. So I'll give you the better statistic. There's a virus. The statistic was about suicidal ideation in queer youth,
Mhm.
and it's a high percentage. It's a very high percentage of queer youth who continue again in 2022, and I don't know that it's. I don't have the, again, because I can't find what I was looking at, but I don't know that it's I don't know that it's gotten better, and I have a feeling it actually might have sort of peaked and gotten worse,
Mhm.
because I think there's been a lot more. I think there's been a lot less supportiveness over the past couple years than there was maybe 5 years ago.
Yep.
But so the better statistic is, and in relation to this, is that LGBT, according to the Trevor Project, a recent report of theirs, LGBTQ plus youth who learned about LGBTQ plus people or issues in school had 23%, had a 23% lower chance, 23% lower odds of reporting a suicide attempt in the last year compared to queer youth who did not have the ability to learn about those issues in school. So if you were able to access, information about queer people, queer issues in school,
Mhm.
your odds of attempting suicide were 23% less. I mean, that's enormous. I mean, that's a large number of people.
So, this bill in Florida, was there any justification given? Like, what is this supposed to do
This is about
to
parental.
help our children? I
It's
air
not.
quotes for everybody. Okay, so
Well,
this isn't
it's
about
to not
helping the
expose them to. I
kids.
mean, if you're asking them, it's the same old. It's the same old stuff. It's parental rights. It's protecting youth from learning about things that parents hypothetically or in practice don't want their kids to learn about. Um, which of course is a double blow to queer kids who, if you've got a parent who's going to sue your teacher for mentioning gay stuff, they're probably not someone you can talk to about it at home either,
Right.
would be my
Yeah.
guess. So yeah,
Obviously, this
there's no
is horrible.
justification for helping. There's no justification in terms of helping kids. There's certainly
Okay.
no statistics or numbers unless you believe that it is evil and wrong and kids should not learn about it.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Because we've seen with the banned books and stuff, there's this thin veil of like, but it might make the kids feel bad to learn some things.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
was wondering if there was some kind of strange veil on this one as well. Like, oh, but the children will be helped by,
I mean, I think it's enough, and it's still enough in the culture to be able to say. I mean, I don't think, we're not at a point where you can't say, "Oh, I don't think kids should learn about gay stuff," and have people condemn you for that on a large basis. You know what I mean? I think that's still, in much of the country, I think that's still a thing you can say, and people go, "Yes, you were absolutely right."
Oh my, oh, that is,
You know,
I hate that.
and to the point of things having gotten a little worse. We've had multiple people. So this is a thing we've had to do now, especially since the Texas rulings with regard to Roe v. Wade, where it was essentially a matter of the state of Texas going, judges in the state of Trump appointed judges in the state of Texas saying, we don't like the idea of Roe v. Wade. It conflicts with our beliefs. And so we are going to, prevent people from accessing their rights via Roe v. Wade. There's a lot of feeling that the next, not even a feeling. I mean, there's stated, we see these laws, we see people stating that this is their strategy to extend that into queer issues, into gay marriage, say, into queer marriage. So we have had to, on the advice of more than one professional people speaking independently, we're carrying our healthcare care proxies and our that sort of medical paperwork with us when we travel, because that's what we've been advised to do, because we don't know, if our plane stopped in a random state, it is unclear if they would choose to recognize our marriage or not.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And it's unclear if the courts would back them up in not recognizing our marriage. So we have been strongly advised, and it's what we're doing now, is to carry all our, so at least we have a backup of, if you don't recognize our marriage, okay, well, I have this legal document that hopefully you'll then pay attention to, which is the formal piece of paper. Again, that's the kind of stuff that's going on, and that's, I don't know. It's depressing. It's very depressing.
Yeah.
And it's again, I know what it's like to, I don't know, but maybe it was better when I was a kid because nobody talked about it. I don't know if there was so much. Well, no, that's not true. No, it was demonized.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah. No,
demonized
no, it
in much
was.
the
It
same way.
was. Yeah.
But now
It,
it's so on the top of people's lips, and it's so discussed and legislated, and everyone is fighting all the time to roll back these rights. I don't know. It cannot be easy to be a kid now, to be a queer kid now. There are more, there's broader acceptance in a lot of ways. There's broader social acceptance, but it's still the same thing where, you can't turn on the news without seeing some person in a position of authority, either religious or political or whatever, telling you that you're wrong and evil and you shouldn't have any rights.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, it's not great being an old person in that world either. It's not great being an elderly man in that world either, but it's definitely, people before the age of like, I'm too old to give a crap what you say about me.
Yeah. Right. Gosh, that really, I kind of feel like all the air has left the room.
I know, and we're having such a nice conversation.
We were. It does. I'm sorry. I'm a little quiet here. It gives me it's like a literal pressure on my chest. Like I feel it.
Well, there's so much, and it's and I don't know what the solution is, except for people to get educated, and there's there are political actions. There's a level of compassion. There's I guess they always say, think about the children. Well, think about the children. I mean, if you would rather see queer kids dead,
They would.
Well, they would, and that's the thing. And I guess I don't know how I don't know how you fight that, other than trying to make those people obsolete and get them out of power. But we're seeing this. We've, in terms of the book bannings and things, we've seen this with like boards of education. The queer stuff is just as much of a battleground there, where people are running specifically because they don't want books about Black people, and they don't want their kids to learn about queers, and they are running for the boards of education with no other interests than those things. And
Yeah.
as we've seen with a lot of other issues, when you're a single issue candidate and you don't care about anything else, you can get people riled up and you can get people to come out and vote for you. And sometimes you can do a lot better than a well-rounded person who has moderate views on a variety, moderate to reasonable views on a variety of topics. It's, so that's something people need to watch out for. Our last town election, the turnout was very low. The school board elections are a lot lower, and people really need to start watching out for those, because those are turning into real battlegrounds, and people are taking advantage of the fact that people don't pay attention to them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that people really need to start watching.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's alarming. And then when you think about all these school boards that don't, any kind of veneer of think about the children can be scratched with my very short fingernail that I broke the other night and had to cut really short.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Like that's how thick that veneer is.
Yeah.
Because it's not thinking about the children, and it's not thinking about the future of the US.
Yeah.
I mean, we're taking all these books away from kids. How are they even going to get educated? People are advocating teaching kids like tiniest slices of information and keeping so much else just away because it's bad or it's controversial or, oh, it might make them feel bad. No, that's not it. But
yeah,
like it doesn't bode well for the future of our nation.
No, it doesn't. I mean, if we're so eager to rewrite our past and present, and that's the goal. The goal is to dictate the future by rewriting the past and the present, by rewriting current events. We just saw the National Republican Party, which has been screaming that the January 6th attacks on the Capitol were an Antifa plot to frame good, honest, Trump-loving Republicans.
Sure.
Now they've declared that it was legitimate political discourse, and any discussion to the contrary is subject to censure. So they've censured actually multiple Republicans who have said, like, no, I think this was bad that people came and like stormed the Capitol, tried to kill the vice president, attacked a bunch of police officers, did millions of dollars in damage, stole some laptops, spray painted graffiti. So again, if that's not rewriting, that's rewriting the present just as you'd rewrite history.
I don't know. It's scary.
It is scary.
You know
it's
what's not scary, Ross? Whatever's coming up next. Whatever's coming up next after the Sound of Tomorrow, I'm sure it's going to be an absolute banger, and probably won't put that tight pressure on your chest like this last part of our discussion today. Thanks for tuning in.
Oh, yeah, that went. Yeah, I turned that down a dark corner, didn't I? I went down a dark alley with that.
Yeah. As we do. It's our way. One thing though, Ross.
About your coworker?
Yeah. I think he's homophobic.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You know how they give away those little pride flags at, pride parades and events and stuff?
I have got 4 in my pen holder right here.
Right. So I have one in my pen holder. Classic place for small novelty flags, it seems. And one day, I came into my office to find the flag had been knocked to the floor. My colleague and I are the only ones who work at this location. And I sure as heck didn't throw my pride flag on the floor.
Yeah. I will remind you at this point that your coworker is your cat, Nigel, and he does enjoy punching things off your desk.
He does. And sometimes he punches the mouse. And sometimes he throws my appointment cards on the rug. Ugh, I love him so much.
I love it when you lean into being just a very lonely old cat lady.
It's a dirty job, but someone's got to do it.
You're a dirty job.
You are.